Hi, it's Sam Lee here and welcome to Propelled by Integra. I just wanted to spend a few moments talking about something that has really come up recently in conversation, and it's all about leading by example. And I want to speak specifically to those of you who are team leaders, supervisors and managers about leading by example, and the reason why I think it's important, and 4 things that we can do to lead by example. Now, I'm sure that if you're not in a team leader position or a supervisory position, you will know whether your team leader or those in authority over you or leadership over you, whether they lead by example. And there's nothing worse than actually being in a team and being told what to do and how to do it, and then observing that your team leader or your leader is not taking their own advice. They're not doing what they're saying. And I really think that this is really big. The most effective leaders that I know and I've come across and I've watched are the ones who lead by example. They're the ones who not only tell me what they want me to do or the procedures they want me to follow or the safety rules they want me to abide by, but they're the ones who actually do it. They take action and not only tell me what to do, but they demonstrate it. They lead by example. And that's really powerful. I don't know about you, but you may have children or you may know children, maybe in your family. Have you ever noticed that a lot of times, probably most times, they're more likely to do what you do, behave in the way that you behave, rather than only doing what you tell them to do? And I've certainly noticed this. And observing my own children, sometimes you'll see behavior in them. You'll see some little attitude bits and pieces creeping to the surface that you think, where does that come from? And then when you're standing looking in the mirror, you kind of realize that maybe it's a character trait that you display, or maybe it's an attitude that comes to the surface when you're under a little bit of pressure or stress, or you're feeling a bit fatigued. And you kind of see actually this whole thing in action. You see that really your children are picking up on how you're leading. They're picking up on how you are as an individual, and they're watching your actions. And it's very powerful, very powerful. And we see this in teams as well, in the workplace. So something that's quite simple, actually, it's very powerful. And that's why I want to spend just a few moments speaking about leading by example. And in a safety critical environment like the aviation maintenance industry, we've got to lead by example. We read of stories where teams who have been under pressure because they've just got to get an aircraft out, they let their standards slip. Well, those standards, if they're not being reinforced by the team leader or the management or the senior leadership, actually that attitude filters down to the people who are on the shop floor doing the work. And so this is why it's absolutely critical. We need to be leading by example. So here are 4 things that we can do to lead by example. Firstly, know what example you want to set and why. The why is really important, as it will motivate you even when you don't feel motivated. Knowing what example you want to set is really all about knowing the standard that you want to see. And as a leader, you get to set the standard. Now, it most probably will be in line with what the upper management are wanting. And if this is the case, then it's your job to know exactly what that standard is and to uphold it at all times. If you are part of the upper management, then the standard you expect must be modeled by you. So many times, senior leaders can think that they are the exception to the rule. However, that time you don't lead by example and someone notices will be the time that your great work starts to unravel, as the understanding will be it's one thing for you and it's another thing for everybody else. This is not leading by example and can cause other problems throughout the team or organization. Secondly, think about how you can demonstrate leading by example to others and when. And this is all about behaving in a way that shows others how to behave. It's all about behaving consistently in that way, regardless of the situation or the human factors that you might be experiencing. So here are some ways in which you can lead by example. With your attitude. What is your attitude to your work? or what you are directed to do by your manager or the leadership team above you when you don't want to do it. Remember in one of the previous videos I've done, I sometimes talk about thermometers and thermostats and how we can be like a thermometer, just reacting to the environment and the atmosphere around us. Or we can be like a thermostat and set the environment by leading by example. Constantly be learning, that's really important. Self-reflecting and developing yourself as a leader as well as technically, if that's what your job involves. Lead by example by encouraging good safety behaviours and thanking those who uphold the expectations that have been set. And I'll mention one more thing here, and that is the importance of listening to others when they need to ask questions about what to do, or they are wanting to provide feedback on how easy or hard it is for them to uphold the standards you've set. Thirdly, try and identify the times or situations that you think could lead you to not setting this example. And this is all about thinking about your day-to-day job, the pressures, the expectations on you as an individual. And then try to think about how you should be setting the example in each task you do. Now ask yourself the question, what might prevent me from upholding the standard during this task? Think about the human factors that you might experience throughout that task. Now the final question to ask yourself is, what can I do to make sure I will always set the example? This will involve considering what human factors you might be influenced negatively by, and then coming up with a solution to minimize the potential for being influenced negatively by these. Fourthly, decide now that you will always lead by example in an unpressurized environment, whilst watching this video, for example. And that you will always lead by example so that others know that it is okay to do this. Set the expectation that you will always lead by example no matter what happens. Be consistent in the way you work, your attitude towards work and others, and in always displaying good safety behaviours. Try to work through some hypothetical scenarios that you may already be able to think of where it has been difficult in times past to lead by example, and think about how you might do things differently from now on. Okay, so to summarise, here are the questions that I've just talked through. What example are you wanting to set in the areas of attitude within your team? What examples are you wanting to set regarding safe working practices and safety behaviours? How can you demonstrate better and lead by example in these areas? Which areas do you find it hard to lead by example and set the standard you want to see others follow? Why is that? What can you do to ensure that you will always uphold the standards you expect? What changes do you need to make to support and sustain this? Are you consistent in your approach to leading by example and setting the standards you expect? If not, why not? And what can you do to make the required changes to ensure you always will? So that's the 4 things that I believe we can do to set and lead and set examples. So lead by examples and set examples. And one thing that I've found really can help is the personal minimums that we can have for ourselves. And there's another video I encourage you to go watch if you've not seen it already. It's all on personal minimums. It's about challenging ourselves and asking the right questions before the start of a task and then after a task. And we need to set those personal minimums for ourselves. Even more importantly, if we are a team leader, supervisor, manager, a senior leader, wherever we are on the leadership scale, we need to set our own personal minimums. And I'd also encourage you, if you've watched this video all the way to the end, you're not yet in a position of leadership. Well, actually, you are, because one of the first things you need to do as a leader is lead yourself. So make sure you're leading yourself and setting a good example to your team around about you. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks for your time. Be blessed and have a great day, and see you soon.